I'd like to call this meeting of the select board to order on May 29th, 2025 at 6 o'clock. Additions and deletions to the agenda.
Yes, with a couple of them, Chair will allow. One to add the My Village Inn for first and third class liquor license. We put that last under liquor license. Two other sewer request abatements, one for 32 The Green and one for the Woodstock Terrace. Again, we just kind of put that at number 7. And then a vote and signature on a reservation of rights for potential lawsuits for the town. Put that at the end of votes for 14. That's all I have.
Managers report.
So because we have a large agenda, I'll try to be very quick. One, we have 2 new staff members who joined us in the last week. One in the finance office, who comes from another municipality with a few years experience. So we're excited that she can hop right in inside working financially with us. We've been short staffed for about a month and a half. June 30th is the year end. So we're very lucky to have her join us now to kind of help Robert wrap up the year end and kind of move on from there. We also have a new member in Public Works, again, someone who has municipal government experience. They started on Tuesday as well. So far, we've been in that end. As a board, we know we've been short staffed for almost a year now in Public Works. So this is one of the positions we need. So we're excited about that. We received finally the draft audit this week. So we sent back our management letter and findings this morning. So we should have a final draft hopefully within the next few days. Although the final draft is not completed, the findings were minimal at best. So we're very happy with the way the audit came out so far. We will start our summer hours next week, which means starting next Friday, town hall will close at noon on Fridays. There'll be a phone number if anyone has any emergencies. I'm usually in town hall till at least 3:30 anyways on Friday, so there will be someone here if people need them. But all public service will be available for fire, EMT, EMS, Public Works. So there should be no disruption to the residents. Why we're so late on the summer hours is because this Friday sewer bills are due. So we're making sure we're open until 4:30 this Friday to collect all final sewer bills. So if you're watching and you're not on the agenda for abatements, please pay by Friday to make sure that you don't have any late payments. If you have any questions about your bill, please reach out to our finance office. We'll be happy to help. Last but not least, we're working on the first water billing for the town since we own the water system. The goal is to collect readings next week, have the select board vote on a water rate, and then send out bills to all water connections. So instead of what the Aqueduct has gone, where they do a quarterly approach, our hope is to send out one bill to catch everyone up through May 30th. So everyone pays the same water rate up to May 30th. And then the new water card that the finance committee work on will hopefully be in place by with the select board by the time we do going sometime in summer or early fall. So once we're assured that we can do all the readings next week, we'll start pushing out language, letting people know the water bill will be coming out and what to expect from on that end. That's all I have.
Yeah. All right. Liquor licenses.
What about citizens' comment?
Citizens' comments, I'm sorry. I missed that.
First off, I want to apologize. We have a long agenda. So I'll try to read through this. Some of you already heard what I'm going to say. What brought me up here today?
Or to tell us who you are.
Fire Kelly from Woodstock. What brought me up here today, a few days ago, someone asked me if I'd read the standard and then asked me for my historical memory of the peddlers issues in Woodstock. That has nothing to do with the selectmen. So I'm gonna tell you that right off the bat. But when I was doing that, I started to do some research for them to be able to answer, not taking sides, but just historically where that was. And in addressing that, it made me review, which I had reviewed before, the charter of the village. The charter of the village is something that has to be approved by the legislature. The only way the charter can change is when the legislature changes it. You can't change it on your own by any vote or anything else. So historically, when I was looking at the issue being brought up, I knew that the green is controlled by trustees. And the trustees over the years have adopted policies that were never adopted many years ago, but that's part of growth in any community, including private gatherings now. And the food truck thing made me look at that, and I was looking at the past and the peddlers and everything else. And I had to take into account that the town has assumed responsibility for the roads. Based on a law that was changed back in that still found, I think, in 2017, where the merger that happened many years before, for 1 year for the town police and for village highway and the town highway to merge, went, and that it never was the following year that they wanted the merger of the management of the highway to continue is the way that passed. But in 2017, the gist of was, oh, well, we made a mistake. And even though for the last 20 something years, the villages paid their own highway and the town had paid their own highway, all of a sudden it gets switched to the town was responsible for all of it, which is still okay. The point on that when I was reviewing it is the charter was never changed for that. The village is still the village, the town is still the town. In the charter, the village is still responsible for the maintenance of the town. In the charter, the town is responsible to give what 60-something% every year to the village for their highway costs. And that never changed. That was never changed in the charter itself. But what happened is the town absorbed that cost, which I'm still not complaining about per se. Where it got me to concern was when I was reviewing it for the peddler's license. I noticed that there were a lot of things talked about, of which, like, oh, they can park against traffic flow, they can do park on the street. And I'm looking at that and I'm starting to think as I'm reading through the ordinances. I saw the lines being painted a couple of weeks ago, which I think used to be in the neighborhood of $20,000 for the parking lines and everything else. And I noticed all of that, including trash removal, is picked up by the town now, not the village. It used to be that for parking, and the parking stalls were paid by the town, not by the village. It used to always be that part of the enforcement aspect and the revenue coming in for parking enforcement was supposed to go back to maintain the program, the parking lots, the lines, everything else. Somewhere along the line that stopped and the town started paying for that. The town doesn't get any income for that. It's not paid for off the top by the parking revenue. And the town pays for the trash. The manager did tell me though, when I just asked him that that special events are responsible for their own trash. I didn't see where there's income coming in, so I'm assuming it's supposed to be on the honor system, which I can just tell you, I've seen the trash barrels flowing with bees all around them for many years. So if the honor system is working on the green, it's not working as well as it should. So that's what brought me to the thought of, and looking at this, like, well, why is someone else deciding on all of these things that are then putting it on the town to pay when they're getting an income? I mean, they're taking income, but the town is paying for the extra snow removal that's not needed for regular highway snow removal, is needed for the parking enforcement, the parking stall painting. Those were all issues. The other issue that I noticed when I looked at the agenda for tonight is I believe the police contract is due. Coming up, and that wasn't on the agenda, but so many other contracts are at the same time. Now, not being stupid completely, I can understand and would personally highly recommend you not sign a contract when things are so much in limbo. As a matter of fact, the manager says, oh, it sounds like you're talking about a merger. I've always been against a merger, let me tell you that. Not for reasons you would think, but because there is such a diverse opinions, all good opinions on the community. But it's gotten to the point where all of this, including the police issue, that I wanted to at least float it out there. Doesn't matter if we'll go anywhere, it doesn't matter if it succeeds. It seems to me that, because I know how difficult it was to get the original village contract with the town for the police service. I mean, Susan knows how much I worked on that and the battle that it was. At that time, that was good for the village as well as good for the town, because the town's only call for service at that time was really state police, which would be a long time. Needless to say, here we are many years later. I think it's time for the village, for the town to think, including the police, that when you look at the budget that you may be contracting, it might actually be cheaper for the town to do their own police department and to have a village area, much like the town does with the village for policing now, for the extra police. The town contract, it's worked for years, it's for 40 hours a week, although I'll have to ask for a new copy of the contract. 40 hours per week, used to be, that was for a dedicated patrol officer, and half of the police chief's hours, which is 20 hours. So there's 60 hours of essentially dedicated policing the way it was originally set up. I haven't looked, and it's not my responsibility, it's everyone else's. And I suspect that for years that hasn't been fulfilled. And I also suspect that you're probably paying it without seeing, because part of the contract also included a guesstimate that you don't control of 5 call-ins a week, I think it was. But we never charged that to the town if we didn't have that extra. But if there was extra, they get billed for that too. And a response 24 hours a day for the town was in the contract. That was when Woodstock Village had 24-hour, 7-day-a-week patrol. They don't, and they haven't for a long time. Again, they don't, and they have not for a long time. If you're looking at a contract, I really would like, well, one, I'd like to see a copy of it if we can. I know you may say, well, we're in contract, so it's not public. Well, then show me the old one, and I could maybe give some advice. But if the town really needs 40 or 60 hours of patrol and call it, then it would be a heck of a lot cheaper if you budgeted it yourself and then you contracted with the village as a special district for the extra. And you could do the same thing for highway if there was a merger. You could have the same village enterprise district that, oh, you want this extra stuff. You know, it's one thing to plow through South Woodstock. It's another thing to plow and have to pick up. I mean, we know there's tens of thousands of dollars of costs associated with that. So against my better judgment, I think, as hard as it is to say, if people looked at it, there's a benefit. But probably, if there was any downside, the downside would be for the village now. But I really don't think it is. I think it's a fair way to look at it. Sorry for taking your time. It all started because of this damn food truck thing on the green. I really feel sorry for the merchants, the brick and mortar people who pay for that business. The only thing I would say to the White Cottage, I love White Cottage, I go there quite a bit. How would White Cottage feel if after the farmer's market is purchased and the town owns it, if you put in the parking lot there and we had food trucks out there most of the summer, 3 or 4, they wouldn't like it any more than I can imagine businesses. And I'm not here to advocate for the businesses, but I know why it just why peddlers like that were always discouraged. So that's it. Sorry.
Thank you, Byron.
Thank you.
I'm not seeing any more student comments online.
Liquor licenses.
I will make a motion, this is gonna take a minute, that we approve liquor license for the Woodstock Resort Corp. First class hotel, two first class restaurants / bar, second class, third class hotel, two third class restaurants / bar, and 3 outdoor consumption permits. Oaks and Evelyn LLC, first and third class license. Braden's LLC, first and third and outdoor consumption, and My Village Inn, first and third. My motion is based on the assumption that the state is reviewing these applications because they don't give us any information.
You have Coburn's and the Jackson.
Coburn's is Braden's.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Jackson House, I think is Oaks and everyone's the rest.
Okay,
Before we go forward, I just want to make, so Susan, you work for the resort, you work in the gift shop
I
where
do.
alcohol's not included, so you have a
Correct.
conflict of interest, yes, perfect.
is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The Vermont, 100 endurance race permit.
Someone on Zoom.
Hi, folks. Astrid Bradish White, representing Vermont 100.
And this is something you've done multiple times.
This will be our 34th running if weather and folks permit.
Just want to just quickly tell us about it to the audience if they don't know.
Absolutely. Vermont 100 was founded in 1989 as a benefit for the upcoming, or I don't know if it had been established at that point, it's become a benefit for Vermont Adaptive Ski and Sport. It is a foot race and a concurrent horse race. It had begun as a horse race in a different iteration. It attracts people from all over the world. It is 450 runners between the 100K and 100-mile distance. And the participants have 30 hours to do an A to A course. It's basically a clover leaf. It's been about the same course for the entirety of the race with some small variations. It's the only race of its kind now of what they call ultra distance events that also have the horse and runner element. It's pretty amazing athletes. As somebody who's also run it and been involved with the race for about on and off for 30 years.
Any questions?
Has the town received the certificate of insurance?
Kitty, are you on?
Yes. And yes, we have. Thank you.
Is there a motion? And you're all set with any details you need, police details, if you need any?
Is that for me or Kitty? I'm sorry, or the town?
It's for you. If you need any police details, you're all set with those?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we are. We hired the constable to manage a couple of points along the course that I think particularly at the Tapsville Bridge, we cross in the morning, and then we have police detail hired by Windsor Police to monitor other items, including traffic control, and not necessarily in your area.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the Vermont 100 endurance race?
I'll approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
Okay, we have the union contract.
Chief Green, you mind coming up as well? So as the board is well aware, the current union contract with the fire EMT department expires on June 30th. Chief Green, myself, Stephanie Rockefeller, Robert Desmore, spent a couple of months in negotiations with their union. In your packets, is the agreed upon contract between, the town, or the contract we agreed to, this group with the union, for your approval. I know that the board hasn't updated on it, throughout the process. The major thing is obviously, money. So currently, if we hire a new firefighter EMT, they at $18 an hour. These are people we're asking to save lives, be prepared to save lives, walk into a burning building, save your cat in a tree, all that stuff, all at a drop of a hat. This contract moves up from $18 an hour up to $21.66, which I think we'd all agree is probably not worth their worth. But we're also constrained by financial regulations and taxpayers' dollars. So this is similar to police contract and the dispatcher contract that you're approved. Slowly trying to move to some kind of place where we're close to our neighboring towns for recruitment purposes. They more importantly, build morale to let these people know that we respect their time and efforts, and we want to reward them for dedicating their lives to keep Woodstock safe. I don't know if I had anything.
Sure, and I said it better.
Are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve the contract for the Woodstock Fire Department?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I assume I can stay up.
You might as well. Okay. Next is the LEMP requirement,
Ambulance service agreement.
ambulance service agreement.
So basically, these are a 3-year contract, expired July 1st. There is no change to them. They're the same as the last one 3 years ago. This does not set rates or anything. It's just a contract first. Okay. And earlier today, I was made aware of a typo, as Heartland has a typo, which has been changed at the new contract, not really a typo with language, I should say, just to meet BLC population counts.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Concord has a fee-based charge for the population, but nobody else does.
So it's a minimum fee,
For everybody else?
no, just for them.
Okay. Any other questions?
I would move we approve the ambulance service agreements with. Now I'm gonna,
Okay.
Reading, Bridgewater, Plymouth, and I think Pomper's already done, right?
No profit.
No, fine.
Oh, it's in here too, sorry, Pomper as well.
I have a clean change of your apartment.
Good.
Or won't be signing that.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So you pass down the other one, right? Isn't it?
No, I was sent anyone came down then.
Those photos out here will do this at the end.
Yeah. We have this one, right?
Yeah, you're there.
All right, the local emergency management.
Yeah, so both of these are attached. I want to thank David Green, Chief Green, for going through and updating these. It's a yearly process. I've sent both copies to the state already. They have approved them as is. Both using is your signatures, if you so please. But Chief, you want to go more detail with this sets out for the town?
Yeah, so the LEMP is a yearly thing. And what made it very tough is they changed their form this year, so we had to completely update the emergency operations plan to reflect what the state wanted in LEMP. And, I appreciate the thanks, but also Beth Herring worked on this with me. So I want to make sure she gets her kudos. It is not perfect. There are some things with the water department that we have to fix, but we're in a time crunch because it's due the end of the month. But other than that, it's in good shape and ready to go and reflects today, except for some language on the.
Any questions? No. Okay. So a motion to approve.
Approve.
For a second? Second. All those in favor? Thank you.
That was easy. Thank you.
You can make it worse if you'd like.
You'll make it up another time.
Okay.
Another place.
Another meeting another time.
Have a good.
Okay, thank you.
It's not the emergency.
Yeah. That's in there. David, that was, David? That's your emergency operation plan also, correct?
Yes.
Oh, okay, they're separate on the agenda.
The two separate documents, right? The two separate documents.
So they are, the LEMP just reflects, our EO's emergency operation plan. They are the same document. Just the state wants a simple short form rather than the whole thing to give out to the public. So when I said there was, it's good today, except for the water company, and that's the emergency operation plan. So I'm sorry, I was kind of folding both of them into one discussion.
I think we should have a separate motion
Oh,
since
yeah.
we didn't include the emergency operations plan. I'll move, we approve the emergency operations plan for 2025.
For a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Excellent, good catch. Thank you.
Is that document publicly available or is it just a?
No, it has to be made publicly available, yes.
Next up is,
And I just want to thank Chief Green for attending tonight. He had the very important, scheduled event earlier today. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You didn't hear me, so it's okay.
Yes. Say it again.
I said you had a very important meeting after very complicated miss today, so I appreciate you coming today.
Anyway, duty calls.
Yeah.
next up is 43 Pleasant Street sewer abatement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Caprizio. I live at 43 Pleasant Street. I think I've submitted paperwork to you that reflects the quandary that I'm in, which is that I received a sewer bill this year in the amount of over $6,600. I've owned my house for 5 years. My house used to be the Canterbury House Bed and Breakfast, so there's 7 toilets in my house, all of which I cannot keep track of. My sewer bill the first 2 years was around $1,400. Last year it was a whopping $3,500, which I paid and budgeted for that amount this year. One of the toilets on my second floor, unbeknownst to me, was leaking. Probably 2/3 of the year. I've replaced 5 out of the 7 toilets in my house, and I'm working on the last 2. And so I believe that toilet was running constantly, which I discovered working in my basement. I heard a trickle of water coming, and I was working in the basement for 2 hours, and I thought, I'm not running water. Water can't be running consistently for 2 hours. So that's how I discovered the toilet. You can see my previous water bill prior to, I have a plumbing bill from Adequachi Plumbing to replace that toilet. That happened on July 8th, 2024. The quarterly bill usage amount for the square feet of water billed was 13,000, which is very high prior to the fix. And the subsequent quarterly bill, the usage went down to 4,600. So I believe I'm asking for, a little bit of a break. I repaired the toilet.
So the way our system works is, it used to work, now that we own the water company, it will probably be changing. But we would get, after a full year of water usage, we would get those reports from the aqueduct. And so in the following year, you would pay for how much water went through our sewer system. So the year that the toilet was leaking and all the water was coming through our sewer system, and you know, it does tax the system. Your bill was probably normal. And so it wasn't until the next year that got caught because of the 1 year lag with the aqueduct reports. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone but me. But, so it's not unusual that it's the year after you've had a problem that your sewer bill is going to reflect that problem. I think we had the same thing with the Woodstock Inn with a hot tub or something.
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
We don't
You know,
have a copy of the sewer bill.
I think even if we did, I think the issue is that,
$6,687.36. Would you like to see it?
right, do you want?
Yeah. You should have it for right.
Very little has changed at my house. I installed one other set of laundry machines for my back unit and.
But you did have you had an extraordinary water usage 1 year. It wouldn't have been caught that year, so you didn't pay that year for your sewer for that extraordinary water use. I mean, if you're using the water, it eventually goes into the sewer. So that's the whole methodology of why we base the sewer bills on water usage, is because if the water's coming into your house, it's going out of your house and going into the sewer system.
So what you're saying is that when I receive a quarterly bill for water, that isn't based on the water usage for that.
The water is, the sewer is not. The sewer is always based, it has been, before we bought the company,
Yeah.
Right.
it's based on the previous year's water usage.
Okay,
So if you had a huge water usage in 2024, your water bills will reflect that in 2024. Your sewer bill is not going to reflect that till 2025.
then something must be seriously wrong because I don't understand if there hasn't been a change at my house, how my sewer bill in the first 3 years could go from $1,400 to $3,500 to $6,000 to over $6,600.
And I think the 6,600 probably reflects the problem with the toilet.
Okay.
And my guess is
Okay,
that
that is
next
what you're
year
saying.
it's
I
going.
thought you were saying
yes.
it doesn't
No.
reflect.
No, the
And I'm thinking,
6,600.
now I'm in a panic because I.
No. My guess is that next year you're going to find it comes back down because you don't have that extraordinary water use.
That's a huge relief. I would appreciate any help. What I've done with
Have,
Kitty and the Kitty.
have you spoken to see if the usage is correct?
I did speak with Mary both at the Woodstock Aqueduct both last year and
No, I mean on your sewer bill.
this year, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did verify based on the usage and the rate, how they came to that amount. I sat with both Mary and then Rob. So I did the best homework that I could, but what I've done is I've paid the amount that I was billed last year, I paid to the town. So whatever amount you can help me abate. If there's a difference, then I'll have to make that payment tomorrow.
We enacted guidelines for sewer abatements, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that was given to you when you. Okay, you probably should have been. So we have 4 guidelines for when you can abate sewer charges. The first is if someone died without any money. And the second, and these are based on a state statute to do with taxes. The second is if someone's financially unable to pay fees, charges, interest, penalty, or collection fees. The third is fees or charges in which the town made an error. And the fourth is a fee or charge due to the change in the number of people living in the house or a change in use of the property. So what, I
Yeah.
look to everybody for your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, our guidelines are pretty strict for sewer abatement, unfortunately, seems.
Yeah, I don't. I don't, yeah, I don't know how we can do this because it doesn't meet the guidelines and it opens up Pandora's box for us.
So no one else has ever been able to receive an abatement based on an unforeseen plumbing issue? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem is the plumbing issue was at your property and the plumbing issue did
Right.
cause the sewer to have
Right.
the flow. It's not like it was just a plumbing issue and it stayed within your house. All that water
Right.
went
I mean,
into the sewer
from
system.
my perspective, it was an excess use of water, which I paid for. It wasn't sewage, it was water. So there was no cost to the town,
No, but the water goes into the sewer system. But where,
but it wasn't sewage, it was water.
it still
It
has
still
to
goes
go,
in the system.
still has to be dealt with in our sewer system.
Wow, I'm really surprised.
And when, for example, when we're looking at, new or different, changes to the plant, one of the things they look at is our flow. How much water and things you have coming into the system.
It really doesn't feel fair, I have to say. I understand what you're saying to me.
Mhm.
There are other properties in this town that have the same number of occupants or more, and they have a well, and their sewer bills are drastically lower because you can't measure the water usage there. I mean, it makes no sense. I feel like this is punitive. And what's the appeal process?
This is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
So it's tough ducks. Okay. Thank you.
Right?
Huh?
We
Yeah.
need a motion.
Yeah.
to deny.
Your motion.
Move we deny the sewer abatement request for 43 Pleasant.
Your second.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank.
The next one's 2 High Street, so this was someone who came in front of the board last year for an abatement. They don't have the water connection going through the apartment. They haven't gotten a water bill in a few years. And we just didn't put in a system to not charge them a sewer bill this year, so they got them in charge.
So I would move to approve the 2 High Street sewer abatement based upon the guideline that it's a fee or charge in which there was a manifest error of the town.
Your second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Did they give any indication that they're gonna connect back to the system at some point?
To us now.
And then,
So there's 2 more, 32 the green, which you should have in front of you, is that booklet. So that's a memo from Robert Dinsmore. And when happened, I'm sure if someone is here from 32 the green. Someone will be here by this time.
I'm reading it. Hold on.
They had a family.
Laura, go ahead.
I said I'll make a motion to abate the sewer charge, under the criteria that the fee charge for a manifest error.
Your second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Wait, what is our exact? Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
What is the exact sewer rate charge?
Minimum charge for 774 cubic feet, I believe, or $774 for 5,000, a minimum of 5,000
Yeah.
cubic feet. And then everything else is at a,
if they have a water meter.
yeah. if they have-
But what is the rate per cubic foot? Like with is it about what, 15 cents per cubic foot?
I have to find it's what you voted on probably back in March for the new rate for this year.
Yeah, it's 15.5 cents, it's 0.1548 per cubic foot over 5,000 cubic feet. And that's for meters. So for single occupied household, we charge 774, we charge 1161 for double, and then 1548 for a family.
Yeah.
And those would be-
Well, I know they would like to be here. They do have questions that they're texting me, and I don't feel like I can answer. So I would actually move that we just postpone this hearing until they're able to attend.
Even though we're gonna abate it?
Yeah.
Which one?
Sorry, who's texting you? Sorry.
I think Patrick McKee.
Oh, okay. I mean, I made a motion to abate, do they still want to come?
I think that they still don't understand the math. It's still not making sense to them, even at the lower abated rate.
Okay, okay.
We'll table the,
High Street. No,
uh, 32 the green.
I also think it's worth mentioning to the public, because maybe people don't know, I know we approved the rates, but like the rates went up significantly because the usage was down last year. So I feel like if people are looking at historical bills, they might be a little surprised at the increase in bill.
And that's partly at least because of the Woodstock and hot tub.
Yes.
It carried away one year.
which is well appreciated.
Yes. And then Woodstock.
Yeah.
I think someone from the terrace is here.
Yep. Hi, I'm Danielle Nickerson. I'm the executive director here at Woodstock Terrace. Thank you for allowing me to join the meeting. Obviously, I'm also asking for an abatement on the sewer bill. One of the reasons being is that from 7/1/2023 to 6/30/2024, we used 259 and 80 the cubic feet. And then in 2024, it went up to 535,190. So our bill increased by $49,000. We're looking into why that would happen, because we have the same census, the same amount of apartments. We haven't located any issues. We did have a couple gentlemen from the water department come on Tuesday. They were looking at our system with us. They did think that we have a water softening system, and he thought maybe the backflow, if it was running 24/7, would equate to that for an entire year. However, since Tuesday, we have checked it at least 10 different times, and that water flow, backflow is not running consistently. We have a company coming Tuesday to look at our water softening system. We are looking at whether, what is going on? Why would that kind of increase happen? We don't have any toilets that have been running nonstop, nothing that we can see. So what we're asking for is, can we pay what we paid last year for tomorrow and give us some time to try to figure out what's going on? And then not charge us the late fees while we try to, again, research and find out what's going on.
So again,
Well,
our problem
yeah.
is that your sewer bill reflects water that you used in the previous year and that went through our sewer system. So it's kind of the same as the previous person, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can't,
I understand that. I think for us though, we're not asking, to not have to pay the bill. We're just asking for time because we are concerned how an increase like that could happen when we don't have anything that we've been able to find that would be causing that. There's questions about the meter readings and what numbers are being calculated for the bill. So again, we're just asking for a little bit of time to research this, and we're not asking not to pay it. We're just asking to give us some time and not charge us late fees to try to figure out why we would have a almost $50,000 increase within a year.
Has Robert looked at the usage to verify usage on that?
Yeah, I think there should be documents that we have that shows the usage.
Did this come from the terrace or from Robert?
Can I see a copy of it?
I believe that came from the parish.
I don't think we have anything from Robert.
Yeah, it came from Paris, yeah.
I can't see it, but it looks like maybe the email that the owner had put together detailing all of the information.
I can have Robert try to forward with the numbers.
So I think the question is whether we give them
Time to,
time, but it's not, I guess unless there was a misreading, it's not going to necessarily change the amount. Really, whether we give them a grace period since the bill due tomorrow.
Yeah.
those went out a month ago, 2 months ago.
When is our next meeting?
Not scheduled.
Not yet.
That's on the agenda.
That's on the agenda.
There might be a special one for the set the water rates the next few weeks, but might be it.
Is there a motion either way?
I mean, if they're doing everything they can to investigate what the cause is, I'm happy to give them more time to investigate what the cause is, because we have proof that, not necessarily the readings come to us accurately. I don't know if other people feel differently.
We would agree. Laura?
Somebody's gonna make a motion.
And state how much time.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll make a motion that we, sorry, we give Woodstock Terrace, we allow them to pay last year's bill amount tomorrow by the due date, by close of business tomorrow. And give them a grace period till the June meeting to investigate if there's an issue on their end. That's causing these ratings to be, different. So we'll do that.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can you just tell me how long the grace period is? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
I just said until our next meeting, which we haven't scheduled, but once we schedule it, which we're gonna do later this meeting, Eric, can let you know, the June meeting.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I think the
Okay. Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it. And again, it's nice to meet you guys because I'm new to Woodstock. So
Welcome.
You're welcome.
thank you.
Thank you. The contract for forest plan for Vondel Club property.
Yeah, so we need, now that we own the property, we need a forest plan.
Okay.
Uh, vendor, Tucker Westfield, who works for the aqueduct. Talked to some people who know them, he all seems respected. They continue to do the same work, they do for, the aqueduct, they do for the town. If you look, it's a small net profit.
Reconnect it. I can't use it at all now.
So it's what, $10,000 a year net profit, give or take, about the property bring in. We'll also need a forest plan for the state as well, if the state's in current use.
Is there a motion to accept the estimate from T&H Forestry for the Vondell Club property forest plan?
I move we accept it.
Your second,
Second,
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, change the day of the June and July meetings.
Yeah, so I just realized that, the third week of the next 2 months, not going to be in Woodstock on that Tuesday, the third Tuesday of the month, so I'm asking the select board to change the date to a different date, ideally the last, so the fourth Thursday of those 2 months.
The 26th,
So the fourth Tuesday of those months.
I
yes.
can't do the 24th. I can do Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday's best for me.
I don't have a clue.
I know,
Too far in the future for you, Greg.
That's a hard plan for tomorrow.
On the 25th, there is a village development review board meeting at 5:30, so we can do before that or 7 PM after that. No. Thursday, 26th is wide open.
I'm fine with the 26th, you guys.
I'd rather do the 26th so I don't have
Yeah.
back to back.
'26 work for everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
What time?
6.
And then July. Are you thinking July 29th?
July 22nd to work, that's the fourth. I think it might be 5 Tuesdays in July. There are,
Yeah.
yeah. So the 22nd to work. Town Development Review Board. 22nd. At 6:30, we can do that.
We can have them,
Let's do ours at 6.
We do 29th, 29th.
or we can have them reschedule their meeting.
Can we do any every other like meeting as a daytime meeting or something through the summer?
These are our regular monthly meetings, but I mean.
Can
we're
they not can they not be in the earlier?
In theory, they could be if the board can get a quorum and they're happy with it. I know Greg works during the day, so I think it's the one issue.
Yeah.
It's after 4.
No, we can do 22nd at 4:30. That'll give us 2 hours before the Town Development Review Board. That helps anyone.
I can do that.
That's fine.
22nd.
Work gets in the way of everything.
There's a,
Just tell you that.
I do miss those Tuesdays. Those are nice.
And what do you say for July?
July 22nd at 4:30.
No more changes there. You gotta.
I'm changing my vacation going forward. I'm not gonna do this again.
Okay. Agreement with Wamba for the Vondell Club trails.
Yeah, so there should be documents on the table for everyone, but I think everyone has seen this a few times. So as we know, Wamba had an agreement with the Aqueduct Company. When the town taking ownership over the property, Wamba wanted to renegotiate the terms. So we went back and forth a lot. I want to thank Susan Ford for her help with this. We kind of came to agreement that kind of, I think, better protect the town going forward with the trails, but also a lot of Wamba to continue to make the trails, maintain the trails, and keep Mondale a nice place for mountain bike riders to come and enjoy the location.
Are there any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve the agreement with Wamba for the Vondel Cobb Trails?
I will move, we approve the agreement with the Woodstock Area Mountain Bike Association for use of the Vondel Cobb property.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Echo Market Storefront Grant Request.
Yeah, so on the agenda last meeting was the Echo Markets open storefront grant that the EDC had set up originally. There was some questions from the board if they had to fill the requirements. So I reached out to them a few times, talked to them, and they have confirmed that they agree the storefront is within a designated parking meter zone. It had remained vacant for more than 6 months prior to the lease. It's on a ground floor with clear street visibility. It did not transfer from another downtown location, and they signed a lease longer than 1 year, which all kind of filled the requirements for the program.
Any comments, questions?
I'd move to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it was a good time to just kind of mention the board that, and Laura Power stuff to me earlier today or yesterday. The board may want to review some of their current EDC grants that are out there that are still open to see if we want to continue having them open and process them, or if we want to close them down, this being one of them. So it might be the board to kind of maybe put this on the next agenda and look through what is open and see if we want to continue to have these be possible for people, or if we want to close them or revamp them now that, you know, the town's taking a little more oversight over the local option tax.
I think I think that's a good idea. If we put it on the agenda and get us the open grants. The main wastewater plant biological process.
So, a few weeks ago now, I think, Phil Turner came and presented on the 3 options for the potential new plant that will be built to renovate the main wastewater plant. The option was an A2O, AGS, SBR. I believe their recommendation was the AGS. I have reached out to the wastewater crew. They also thought the AGS was the best option pending state approval. But if there are further questions for Bill Tanner, we can ask them, or if you're ready to make a decision on what process you want, we can let them know so they can move forward. Lead up to the board.
And I would just, I think, direct people to the May 12th minutes, which do a good job explaining what all the systems are. If it's confusing.
Which one's less money?
None of them.
Not this one, probably. I
I
agree with whatever the guys think is best, but I'm just curious.
Oh, we're just approving them to go forward with.
With design.
Design, yeah.
Design.
Yeah.
We're not approving the plan at this point.
So is there a motion to approve the AGS system for the main wastewater plant? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And if you want to know, it means anaerobic granular sludge. There you go.
Do we need to, or do we need to decide if we want? Does the board need to decide if we want to opt into the watering technology that they talked about, or is that, would that be a later?
I believe that's the later one, but I'll.
Okay.
The Paul Broun Historic Revitalization Grant and easement.
Evening. So I'm Phil Newberg. I think I know some of you. My colleague, is behind me is Val Bradley, and Wendy, couldn't make it tonight. But the three of us form the, Village Historic Preservation Commission, which was appointed in, I think, 2022. We figured, with a similar such group for the town for legal reasons, had a two as opposed to one. Our purpose really is to promote preservation and look at funding opportunities, for projects. In the fall, for example, we applied for some funding for design guidelines, but we weren't successful. Then the Preservation Trust came out with, an announcement for grants, bricks and mortar kind of grants. I think before going to that, I just want to remind everyone that, Woodstock is a National Register Historic District. Within the district is, Town Hall, and it is considered by their terminology a contributory resource. So lesser buildings or features are non-contributory, but Town Hall is clearly one of the, contributory resources. We have actually been on the National Register since 1973, and some of you may be aware that it was amended and updated, in 2021. So often if people are looking online, you'll find the 1973 designation, for whatever reason, the National Park Service hasn't updated some of those records, but it was amended. So the next slide, please. A little bit about Town Hall. I think most of you probably know it served as the civil and social center of the town since its construction in 1899. Pentangle, of course, is a major, pretty much, I shouldn't say sole, but primary tenant of the building, and lots of educational programming for children as well. A lot of work with Zach's place. There was a committee that the select board appointed, of which I was on, David Green, some others, a few years ago, as you may recall. And as a result of that, we got this very complete document that it prioritized the need for the building itself, the physical plant. And with costs in the millions, what right now is probably realistic is to look at an opportunity to do a street project, and hopefully that can serve the seed project for some other things. There have been a lot of priorities in town capital budget wise, so obviously this is a unique opportunity to get some funding outside of town sources. So the next slide, please. Yeah, you're up there. Good. The character defining feature of the building among them are the windows, of course. And, you know, many of these do not have storm windows. These do. How good they are, I'm not sure. But the windows themselves were detailed in the study. And we actually recently got a quote for repairing all the windows. I think there are 14 below and 13 around. And that fellow is in Brattleboro, but so we have a general sense of the pricing on it. But one of the things it'll do is, I think, give high visual impact. It will tighten up those areas where there are not interior storm windows. And hopefully it could act as a catalyst for subsequent work on the building, such as having better handicap access from the street. Ultimately, I think, the elevator probably needs to be either overhauled tremendously or replaced. The one term of the grant, when we apply, the deadline is next week, is Monday. They want to know that the money comes with an easement. And can we go to the next slide, please? I'm gonna kind of go in reverse order here. The Preservation Trust of Vermont, which is based in Montpelier, and it's a private group as opposed to the State Historic Preservation Office, which is the state arm. They have 83 easements throughout the state. So that means of all the millions of dollars they've awarded over the years, communities have basically entered into these easements. The easement, the second bullet says, the right that the owner gives to the second party is the right to protect and preserve the historic character of the property. So for example, in this case, the windows would be something which we wouldn't in 10 years time, 5 years time, go ahead and replace. I can't imagine we would anyway, which is why I think the easement makes perfect sense. It guarantees the grantor, the trust, that there's going to be a level of respect for the funds that were public funds that were afforded to the town. Are there any questions about the easement?
I have a couple. So let's say millions of dollars falls out of the sky after we get this easement, and we want to renovate inside the building.
It's fine.
As long as we don't do anything to the windows. And the addition,
That could take place too.
okay,
It gives them a say in the process, is really what it's about. One of the examples they gave me, which we'll all know, is I forget, is it Gilder's Hill? So that has an easement with the truck. Bridgewater Town Hall has an easement. A lot of communities do, just it's yeah. And they're usually about 5 to 15 years. That's something we'll negotiate with them when and if we get the grant. But they don't want you submitting a grant application if you haven't discussed this topic with leadership, because say you got the grant and then some other party is left as the bridesmaid. So, next slide, please. So we're in the process right now. Isabel and myself and Wendy, and we drafted a response. It's like a 16-part questionnaire thing to put a budget in there. The budget's going to contain the windows, which were estimated to repair around 50,000. Again, this is just one vendor because this is a public entity. We'll go out for bid. Storm windows would probably be an additional, I'm guessing somewhere under 10, and painting. When it's all done, caulking, painting. So I'm thinking we'll probably go in for about 75 or something. These grants are typically 50 to 100. You can't actually go in for less than 50, which, as far as I'm concerned, is great news because nothing costs $50,000 anymore. So if we get it in by the 2nd of June, and I prepared a little letter hoping you will endorse this, that has to get attached to show that we've discussed it. Then they give us notice in mid-July, and we really have the rest of the year to tease out the details. Maybe, someone here has a relationship with someone who was unaware of it, but can provide good value to the town. And also we've got time to iron out those details, because one of the things is that they won't probably make formal contractual awards until the early part of 2026. And then the good news is we have to be all done by 2027 June. So, it should have with relatively quick impact as far as public projects go.
Phil, do you have a sense of how long the project would take?
Well, pardon me, if we award in like April, it'll probably be about 15 months, 12 months.
No, sorry, I meant the work on the windows.
Yeah,
Oh, 15 months to finish the
yeah,
windows.
maybe 12, 15.
Okay.
Wendy met with the fellow who came up here, pardon me, Brattleboro. I forget what other project he had done in the general area. But he might have to take some of them out and bring them and plywood insert goes in and so they said it has high visual impact, which I think is good. Newcomers in town, what's going on, taking care of our building.
No, I think it's great. I'm glad to hear that the grants are, the amounts are so large. Do they only award the grant amount in full, or would they ever award partial amount?
I'm sure that's the
Okay.
case. The other thing I should say in the climate we're in.
Yeah.
Is thus far, they expect to get it. They got it last year. We have all heard about grants being put on hold, so we could be successful
And,
in the competition, but not necessarily. I mean, I just put that out there because of the world we're in.
what happens if we come up short money-wise with the grant?
I guess we would have to, but we'll have quotes before we go there. I mean, I don't think we're gonna make an award. Is that your point, if all the bids come in significantly higher?
Yes,
It's a fair
because
question.
$70,000.
I mean, having worked in construction, my whole life, I guess you either, try to find somewhere to get it, or you wait until the following year and
Because
I haven't asked the town to, these grants don't require a match. I think they like it, it's more favorable, but part of my thought was if it's a little higher, maybe our tenant is interested in it, because I know they're going to make some improvements to the drapes. They're looking at maybe some blackout shades that are less drafty and really take, allow the windows to flood the room with light for when they have the children there, and also I haven't broached that, but as we get closer, it might be worth.
yeah, because $70,000 today isn't gonna be $70,000 when the bids come in.
Right. Well, we might go higher. As I said, we do have a quote that was 47. But I'm a little suspect of that. So, I'll try to add things when I submit it, that's for sure.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I guess I would just ask if there's any concern about the usability of the space while this project goes on. Obviously, we use this room, town uses this room, Ken Hagel uses downstairs. You know, the clerk's office, that we have a lot of people in this building, and so figuring out how to manage that process.
Between
know-
ourselves and our tenant, one of the conditions of the work will be the temporary enclosure or whatever has to be coordinated with the users. And
Okay.
that's pretty standard when it's an occupied building. It's a valid concern,
Yeah,
especially, you know, if it's summer and then even winter.
yeah, just because 15 months, I mean, I understand it's a high
It may
detailed
not-
level of work, but
Right.
I think 15 months sounds like a long time when you factor in like town
We
meeting
may,
and,
we may want to phase it so that one side of the building is done.
Yeah.
Before the other. Because then you can see where there's things that should have been done a different way and you catch it before you've got everything.
every window. up.
Yeah.
I think too, just the town can apply for this, get it, and still turn it down. People won't be happy about it, but
Yeah.
if the easement comes back in a 15-meter easement that towns are comfortable with, you don't have to accept the application with groups, so that's something to consider as well.
My biggest concern was that it doesn't affect any interior work if they decide to do something in the,
No, none of the interior of the building is listed.
any other questions or is there a motion?
With the motion that we approve the grants application, Eric, or is the
Yes.
motion that's supported? Okay,
For,
support.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to support the, grant application from the Woodstock Village HPC for the Paul Brothers revitalization grant.
Do a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. You're all set. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill.
Then we have the,
Yeah, so next, what we have here is, the agreement for passive, to cover the town, and the pending litigation that's in front of the town. So what we need is a vote to approve it, and then, the chair can sign it after the fact. So what that is passive is the insurance company that we use, and one of the agreements we have with them is that they'll cover potential litigation against the town. So they agreed to cover in this scenario, all costs associated with attorney fees. So that's what the document lists as, just the town agreeing to be covered.
And they're reserving the right not to.
Cover certain things if it's found out that certain individuals acted outside of their scope of their work in the municipality. If there are questions, we can hold off and discuss an executive session and come out afterwards. Or what to go into any detail.
No, the chair and the vice chair reviewed it previously. So.
yes, yeah.
I'm not a lawyer.
Oh, yeah. So is there a motion to approve that for the town?
So motion to approve coverage from passive for current litigation.
Now it's, they've appointed a specific law firm.
Yes.
And so the agreement is coming from the law firm.
Yes.
So I would move we approve the coverage outlined in the letter dated May 7th.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those things that have.
Next up is discussion.
I would just add to the board's okay, I think there might be some people here to discuss school memo, would be potentially go down the discussion correct, so we can get them on here and then move forward if that's okay with the board.
Yes.
So if I want to do, I'll do a correction, yeah, so the select board a few months ago, decided to fund an economic development director position. We had some public meetings, discussions with the current EDC members, what that should look like. The select board, myself, my staff put together a job description. We sent it over to EDC members to review. We then posted the position about 2 weeks ago, I believe. We've gotten a significant amount of applicants so far. I think at least 9 or 10 people have applied so far. With that said, about 3 weeks ago, a resident reached out asking if this position could also play a part in trying to keep the school district in Woodstock with the potential realization regionalization that's going on, especially going on in the State House. And I think the board has received a few emails over the last 2 days with the people indicating certain similar ideas. So the chair wanted to put this on the agenda to hear from people who may feel a certain way about this position. That's kind of part of the background of where we're at. Yeah.
Would you like me to speak?
Sure, if you want, if you'd like.
I don't have a lot to say tonight, but. Carrie Bristow, school board chair, Woodstock resident. We all, our board received the same memo and letters that you have received, or some of them, specifically from Seth Webb. And while we think it's a preliminary discussion to start on, we do believe firmly that it's an economic concern if the school is removed from our community and placed down the road, either way, up or down. So we, we had a fairly close vote for the bond for the new school, and it failed. We are looking at partners in our area, including Windsor, perhaps Hartford with their situation, to build a bigger school. Might not be on the same campus. These are all ideas we're floating, but we do believe that it's going to be very important that we can connect to our member towns and the select board and the leaders in the community, because we have to have a united front on this. And so we're starting here because Woodstock is 6 members on the school board as to the other towns who have 2 members. And the school is currently in Woodstock. I think we'd like to see it stay in Woodstock for many reasons. And I guess my question to you is, what do you think the economic impact to the community would be if the school is nixed?
I mean, I think it's a separate question as to whether a hired employee of the town gets involved in that discussion. So, I think that's kind of a no-brainer. We all, I think, would like to see the school stay here. And I think the select board, as I'm only speaking for myself, but I do think that is important to the town.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that said, because we all do, obviously, too. And what's happening in Montpelier even today, perhaps a vote tomorrow, financially, the school doesn't have a lot of money that they can put in. And if something goes through that's being discussed currently, we're looking at probably cutting $6 million out of this next year's budget, but the following one, which is a huge impact to all of the non-required subjects that have to be taught at school, which would be the arts programs, the languages, the sports. It could potentially affect other programs in a big way, and actually knock down the level of education that's offered now, with currently quite a lot of AP testing going on, and programming that's going on, craft, which is a state program. So that's why we're raising the question now. We're willing to reach out to the various towns and form a coalition to come around this and spearhead that effort. We have the PCB testing possibly this summer, probably next fall. There's ramifications financially to that, since the state is out of money and isn't funding the testing nor the abatement that has to be done. So, just like the wastewater treatment plant, the longer we wait, the bigger the number gets. And, I'm retired, I'm on a fixed income, I get it. My taxes went up, my water bill went up, my sewer bill went up, I'm paying them. But, I think that there's potential here with a bigger school and maybe at least one more community joining us in that effort, or at least the middle school, high school, or maybe it's just a high school. And then let the towns all keep their elementaries, and maybe have a middle school built down the road after that, or make a K-8 school for our communities. But we just want to know that we're going to have support in our planning and ideas, and we want to be partners. We don't want to be enemies. We don't want to pitch one project over another. We all know these things have to be done. So that's what I'm here to say on behalf of the school board. And we'll be talking more, obviously, about this. We're addressing it in our meeting next Monday, again, just to float these ideas and get something rolling to work on this project, and hopefully avoid the abatement of the PCBs if we can get school off the ground. So I thank you.
Well, and I want to be clear, I think, I'm speaking for myself, and everybody else could speak for themselves, saying, certainly we support the school being here. I think there's a distinction of saying that we support that, and then also that we're going to dedicate time from a position for that. Eric has done a little bit of work and made us aware that the statute that dictates the use of the 1%, the local option tax funds, says that it can be used for municipal services only and not for education expenditures. So that's a concern. I also am concerned that to me, it sounds like what you all need is a lobbyist. And
Right.
that's not what this position is going to be.
Right.
It's not in the job description. It's not what we're looking to hire.
No, I understand that. Laura had mentioned that to me, so I do understand that, but it was more the not knowing whether, you know, the support was town-wise to say, yes, we want the school, we want to get it built, we want it to be here, if at all possible. And as for a lobbyist, we think there is probably some private funding that can help with that.
I mean, I think, I'd love to see the school stay here. And, you know, I agree, I think a lobbyist is what you need, and my concern is if it was with the town employee that we're looking to hire, you know, how do you can't have one person with two
Right.
masters.
Right.
So, you know, I think, you know, I would, my suggestion would be you go to the town separately. If the school board has some money for the rest of the towns in the district, and say, can you pony up whatever else you need?
Right, we can do that. And as I said, I think we have some donors out there that were willing to start the ball rolling, and they may be willing to put their funds in that direction. Get the lobbyist or that kind of person.
Have you
I
reached
did
out
want to
to
just, oh, go ahead.
the state representatives that we have?
Every single day. I'm on it every single day, as are others. And it's radio silence right now.
Really?
Well, the governor says he's gonna veto. If it comes out in for either the House or the Senate version. So if it gets vetoed, right now, they must be madly scrambling to change things up, make it palatable to the governor. But if he vetoes it, that's it, then they go back to the drawing board yet
Right.
again.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wonder if the next step would be, if the school board wants, to draft like a letter of support for whatever your specific ask is, I think outside of the economic development director position, we're pretty limited in statutorily what we can do. But in terms of what you would need from our board and what you would look for other boards, that might be a thing. And, I know that Let's Grow Kids has been like really successful in the state, which is like a super practical series. And I know people probably feel a certain way about that, but they've been very effective in lobbying the legislature for change. And so maybe something like that.
Thank you, that's a good idea.
I just wanted to say quickly that, just speaking for myself, I certainly think that continuing to have like a very strong middle and high school and a school system in the town is critical to the vitality and longevity of our community as a real community. And even if like this EDC person isn't the right place for this sort of initiative to live, I think it's going to be critical to make sure that anybody we bring on board understands how important it is to our community landscape that we have a vital school.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So maybe one clarification, Laura Powell is the one who confirmed the state statute about education. I don't want to take credit for stuff like that.
That's okay.
I just passed it along.
The email came from you.
Select board members protocol.
Yeah, so I sent out a list for this week. I think we already have copies from you as well. So Susan Ford spent some time together, some kind of general guidelines for how a board member could potentially, or I guess, you know, I'll let Susan run with it, but basically kind of just like how a select board should operate outside of a meeting when dealing with people or the public. And so I'm just if you want to add anything to that, but
Yeah, I think it's mainly the goal is to make sure that we are complying always with the open meeting law in our communication. And also that we are not over-representing ourselves out in public. You know, I'm constantly trying to remember to say, I'm only one vote. So, yeah, and I basically sat down with about 5 different towns, select board protocols, and took pieces of each one in coming up with this.
What I think would be a good idea is, obviously this is under discussion today, not a vote, let's kind of discuss it, but to put together kind of a packet of things like the agenda policy we had last year, conflict of interest, and kind of just have a living document of how, what it means to go to the select board and what it means to interact with the select board member and vice versa. You know, vote on it, put it on the website, and then try very hard to follow it for everyone. That's the hardest part. But if there's feedback on what is currently proposed, if there are things you like to see changed, updated, questions, I think now is a good time to start and we kind of fine tune it over the next meeting or so.
No, I look at it again, but I think it's fine.
I read it. Email somewhere.
Yeah.
And then there was one this afternoon, right?
Did you respond to that?
I sent one out and then Eric sent out one with some red line
Yes.
Yeah.
comments,
Yes,
Or-
I saw that.
changes, additions.
In my phone. I saw the email.
So like I said, are there any discussion on this as it currently exists?
I just had a few edits, typo edits, but I'm happy to send them because I know I'm voting on it.
So I made those changes,
Oh,
but I'm not reflecting in this. This was already printed beforehand, so I didn't.
Reflected in the 3 versions.
Yes. But thank you for the edits.
So put this on the agenda for next month.
Yeah, if there's any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can circulate the notes and anyone else's.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I do want to mention we did forget, and this is my fault, because it asked me to add this. A school committee member did resign, I think this week. So, it is incumbent upon the select board to advertise that opening, do interviews, and then make a recommendation to the school committee, for them to appoint a new member. So it might not be on the agenda, but for the select board, we can put together an announcement internally and then push it out there for June, the process for June, yeah.
Yeah, I would also say it would be great to work with it. Just, I mean, it's weird to me that we have a Berlin Wall, but this is the thing that we're allowed to do. That's fine. But the Sherry has a lot more channels of communication available to her, to the community as well. So it's worth sharing that opening on our side and not her side too.
Perfect.
Okay.
So do we need a motion for that to?
I don't think so. I think, I
Okay.
mean, acknowledging this that I'm gonna put together is fine. It's a procedural thing that has happened anyways.
Land trust update for the Vondel Club Conservation.
Yeah, so where we're at, we had, an app done, Susan Ford worked very hard on with, exemptions for property to be out of the easement with the land trust. There was a vote scheduled for the grant application. What we realized kind of at the last minute internally was most of the land that was exempt were not, and could never be able to be built on. One of it, I kid you not, was because a fern was seen there once, and that fern is an endangered fern in Vermont. The fern can only be seen in the spring. And so some of that thing made it difficult to build on. Another part of the property was bear habitat, which again, we could probably never build on unless the bear is habitated somewhere else. So we came up with another map internally that I think I sent out to you earlier this week. That is in front of the appraiser, so see if they could do a new appraisal, see if that would change, and then the board can decide what exempted land you want to try to use, and then we can submit to the land trust for the grant application. So that's kind of where we're at. The land we exempt this time potentially it would be easier to build on, would fit some of the requirements. I think one of the pieces of land does include a Wamba trail, so that'd be a conversation to have with Wamba if we would go forward and if we were to build on that in the future. But that's kind of where we're at right now with the bond, the condo, property.
So my understanding from the land trust is that we were being considered for the June
Yes.
grant cycle.
Yeah.
The email I had from Donna, the Foster, the project director, indicated that she's looking to know if the new configurations have been approved.
And it has not been, we're waiting for the appraisal, because the appraisal comes back and dramatically changes what the value would be, that would dramatically change what the grant would be for the land trust.
So just so you're aware, it may push us out of that grant.
Potentially, if we get it in the next few days, we can have a special meeting and
Yeah.
approve it, yeah.
Who has seen said burn?
It was, the things that these things probably be great. It was seen by someone, I don't know who actually saw it. We had a staff member on their own time go out to try to find these endangered ferns. And they
This
did
is what
not.
I'm getting at, is it someone make this up? Has it actually been seen? Is it documented?
It's documented somewhere in literature that I was seeing in, I think 1939 or something like that. It was,
I mean.
Is he around for comment?
Maybe there's- it feels like there should be a statue.
I just tell you information again.
I understand.
I think we would probably have to hire some kind of wildlife biologist expert to say the fern doesn't exist.
We do know what area it is in.
Yeah, so again, my understanding, I'm not a,
Frank's gonna go out there tonight.
whatever the word is for a person who is an expert in nature, I'm definitely not one of them.
Horticulturalist. Yes.
It appears only at a certain time and in a certain location,
Sounds a little fishy to me.
so.
Just asking, I'm no burn expert, but I can't deal with my day.
Can you tell them apart though, Greg?
You mow them down, right?
Yeah, there's actually some areas when I used to do the roadside mowing that we couldn't touch because there was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if we waited until after spring, we could still mow because that fern is gone currently. It comes up and dies and it's gone.
Again,
It's only seen in the spring.
not an expert here, I have my own opinions that I won't say on the record.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, there are two endangered plants. One was a fern, that was the most strange one. The other one I think is one that lives near the water areas where life happens and then.
Where you want to build anyway.
Okay. So going to executive session, I will consider a motion as executive session under 1 VSA 313. Thus, to discuss potential contracts after making a specific finding that a premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or a person involved at a substantial disadvantage.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, there's like a whole. But and I think they want him, I don't know, someone said they.
Yeah.
He just barely anything overboard.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I forget that because they were so.
Yeah, okay, I'd like to have.
We're back live in a public meeting.
Approval of the minutes of 4/15/25. Can you vote?
I can't vote on the first two.
Okay, so 4/15/25, 4/20/25. And we'll vote on those and we'll vote on the other ones. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I recused.
4/28, 25, 4:30, 25, 5:12, 25. Your motion to approve those minutes.
I move we approve those minutes.
Your second.
Second.
Those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Your second. All in favor?
I.
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.